What crypto should you be buying right now?
If you're setting up your portfolio today as is, I would allocate.
Wait, were you seriously expecting us to just start naming off cryptos for you to buy? Rest assured, we will share our crypto picks with you, along with our reasons as well as our future price targets. Moreover, we're going to give you guidance and tools, even if you're a beginner and have only $1,000 to invest.
If it was me and it was my $1,000, I would recommend maybe being a little bit more.
All right, Maddie, welcome back to the Ask Maddie show. Maddie, how are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Long holiday weekend, feeling refreshed, ready to talk about some crypto.
Maddie, we are really ready to talk about crypto today. We got a lot of questions, but first, we got the giveaway here. It's a very janky giveaway here, but I think it's going to be pretty fun. So we got to fetch this. Anything goes. We did do a, what did we do? We did do a keyword here, and we asked you guys to type in CC in the comments. This was on the first show. Pick a winner, Jorge Rodriguez. That's the first one. So you guys are about to go, Jorge is about to go head to head with someone else here on the other show to see who gets the Crypto Charge membership, yearly membership. Pick a winner, Tonto Group. Okay, so now we got Jorge Rodriguez against Tonto Group. And to find out who's the winner, we're going to flip a coin. So I'm going to be Jorge Rodriguez. Maddie's going to be Tonto Group. Maddie, heads or tails?
Let's go with tails.
Oh, jeez. Oh. Sorry, Jorge. Maddie.
Let's go. Congratulations.
Maddie, what does Tonto Group get in this giveaway?
You get a full year of Crypto Charge. This is usually $1,000. You're getting it for free. You get access to our platforms. You're going to get our daily updates. You're going to get our morning updates. You're going to get in the Discord. You're going to get our coin library, which is our buys, exits, all that information, and the ability to ask us questions as you need for an entire year. So I'm really excited for you.
I'm so sorry, Jorge. Maybe next time. But today, team, we're going to have a jam-packed show today. We got a lot of questions. You guys left a numerous amount of questions. A lot of you guys actually have portfolio questions, and I know navigating your portfolio can kind of be a struggle nowadays with everyone being like, you got to get the next meme coin. You got to get the next, this or that coin, whatever, the next community coin, Maddie. But it's actually a lot easier. I'm pretty sure Maddie's going to love going into this, and he's going to show you a tool we have to ease in the stress on your head. But first, team, become a Crypto Charge member. Click the link in the pinned comment below. Maddie just mentioned all the things you'd get there: Discord, tools, daily shows. You guys will stay ingrained in crypto and be at the forefront of everything that's new coming out. Other than that, we also got shop.cryptocharge.com. Get some Crypto Charge swag. And team, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. It really helps us grow, and we really appreciate it. But today, your questions, your comments, your hot takes. We're about to get into it. Maddie, are you ready?
Let's do this thing.
Natty513 says, if you had to reset your portfolio, i.e. start all over again, how would you go about allocating money into the various crypto projects? I assume XRP makes up a majority of your portfolio because you've been DCing into XRP the longest and were stuck with it when it got delisted after the lawsuit. Maddie?
Well, in retrospect, everything is always 2020, right? It's always, I would have done this, I would have maybe made these changes. And really the catalyst in the SEC enforcement action in 2020 against Ripple was very unexpected, right? We saw incredible growth from Ripple with their ODO corridors. We saw incredible growth with the XRP ledger, all on its own, regardless of Ripple's efforts from all the developers working on this open source code. So, even if I had to go back and I had to do it all again, I don't think I would change necessarily DCA into XRP. Of course, if I could foresee previous price targets and know how the market was going to react, I would have taken profit into that retrace. I would have, maybe allocated a little bit differently. But from a fundamental standpoint, nothing changes for me with XRP. Obviously, I would have maybe gotten into it a little bit later, saved some of that money, maybe even taken advantage of a short position. But of course, we can't go back and do that. Would I necessarily rebalance my portfolio now knowing what I know? I would say maybe I'd be slightly lighter in XRP. Maybe I would have tried to get into Casper at a different time. But overall, I'm pretty happy with my allocations from both a fundamental and technical standpoint. We always want a lower average. We always want to be into something, at the dead bottom. But that's the way the markets move. No matter if we're talking about stocks or cryptocurrencies, if you find something you like and you believe in it and the price seems good to you at 50 cents, great. Just be okay with that 50-cent price. And if price moves to 20 cents or 25 cents, you still feel like you paid a fair price at that point. And I still think that 50 cents or even $1 for XRP is a really good price in the grander scheme of things. So I wouldn't really change anything about it because we can't go back, right?
Got it. Maddie, so obviously he kind of wants to, he wants to know a little bit under the hood here, various, how to split those up, allocating. If you had the opportunity to, I guess, buy XRP like when it was first launching or Casper, what would kind of be a better choice for you? If you had, look, retrospect, you saw the project launch and, you saw the crash, what project would you pick out of XRP and Casper?
So, obviously if I could go way back, all the way back in time and buy XRP at its inception, that's obviously the better buy. We're talking about sub 1 penny here. If we're talking about kind of more of when I was involved with crypto, if I was able to buy into Casper on one of those lock periods where I could buy in at like 1.5 cents, that would definitely be the better play looking at like, more current. Definitely would have loved to be able to pick up Casper then, but we're not able to necessarily identify every project within that phase. And a lot of time there isn't the same amount of development and growth on that network or within that blockchain at that time. So it's really hard to necessarily say like I would have loaded up, $20,000 or $30,000 of Casper at 1.5 cents with a 12-month lock or something like that, right? And it sounds so good in retrospect because you see where the bottoms come in and you can plant your Fibonacci's and you can kind of see the roadmap and you go, oh my God, this is a 100x, this is a 50x. Right? It seems so obvious, but sometimes you have to kind of like miss that initial window of opportunity. Be okay with the fact that your DCA is still at really, really good prices, and just continue that way. So kind of same with XRP, right? No way to see a lawsuit coming. It came really basically right before Christmas. There's not really any inklings that we had that XRP was going to be put in a position of being delisted. So, moving forward where we are today, maybe I'd be slightly later in XRP and I would have a little bit more exposure to Zcash, maybe a little bit more exposure to Casper, but I wouldn't change the assets that are in my portfolio now, if that's kind of, closing out the question here.
A2009 says, if you had $1,000 to build a crypto portfolio, what coins would you put at what %? Thanks.
So first of all, not financial advice. Don't offer any of that here and don't offer any of that at cryptocharge.com. But if it was me and it was my $1,000, which is, first of all, a great place to start. Don't ever feel like you need to start with a budget that is beyond your means. That's what a lot of people do is they look at their savings account and they look at somebody else that they know in crypto and they go, well, they put in 10,000, so I need to put in 10,000 as well in order to have meaningful gains. And that's, first of all, not the case at all, right? Identify a budget that you can commit to and that you're comfortable with and you don't feel like you need to touch in the next 24 months. And that's what's going to set you up for success, because a lot of people say, I'm going to put this in, but if crypto doesn't do what I think it's going to do in 4 months or in 6 months, I got to pull it all out. And a lot of times that's going to be at a loss, right? Because you have the short-term vision for it. But to get more back to the specific question here, if you have $1,000, which is a great starting point, I would recommend maybe being a little bit more concentrated with your initial buys. So maybe identify 5 cryptos or so that you like, and maybe get invested in those. So I would look at maybe like XRP, I'd look at Casper, I'd look at Zcash, I'd look at APA3. Those are some really great places to start. From current market prices, Casper is actually a better buy than XRP right now. We still have XRP pretty elevated, which is nice for some of us long-term accumulators, but I am still looking for lower prices. If you're setting up your portfolio today as is, I would allocate maybe 30% or so to Casper, maybe 20% to XRP, maybe another 20% to Zcash, another 20% to APA3, and then maybe even leave yourself a little bit of a cash position there, because it's so enticing to go all in on crypto, and you hear about what the fundamentals are and the future, and you see everything moving quickly with BlackRock and ETFs and government approval and regulation, and you feel like you got to get in right this freaking second or you're going to miss everything, and that's not the case, right? So it's good to establish initial positions, but it's also good to give yourself a little bit of padding to lower your averages if price moves against you, right? So maybe deploy out of this $1,000, 60 or 70% of what you actually intend to deploy today, and then you can go ahead and add to those positions as time goes on. Now, if this is your $1,000, you're saying, hey, I've got $1,000 today, but Each month, I'm going to add $200. Well, great. Now we've got a different story here. We can maybe deploy the full $1,000 a day and then contribute that $200 monthly. But again, I want you guys to identify a budget that you can genuinely stick to, not overextending yourself, not pulling from emergency funds, not maxing out your credit cards so that you can make this contribution to crypto, because that's going to put you in a financial situation where you're going to have to make decisions about your crypto that you wouldn't usually make otherwise. The other way you could go about this, if we were to say maybe you had more than $1,000 and you want to be spread a little bit more thin, is I actually have a tool here on CryptoCharge called Crypto Charged Up Bundles. This is something that we're still working on, something we still are dynamically adding to and going to be changing over the next year. But what you could do here, let's say you had $10,000 to invest. I put them there as my total investment. And you guys can see here what it would suggest is maybe upfront of that, invest $2,000 of that upfront. And out of the remaining $8,000, you're going to dollar cost average that $666 each month, okay? And then you guys can select a category of risk here that best identifies with you as a person. You guys can actually take an IQ quiz here if you're not sure which one you are, but there's slow and steady, balanced life, and moonshot. Moonshot's going to involve things more like dexes, some gaming plays, things that are going to be a lot more volatile, not necessarily risky with the fundamentals of the investment, but they're going to be more volatile than maybe like your Bitcoins or your Ethereums. Balanced life is still going to include plenty of altcoins in there, some gaming tokens, but not necessarily the dexes. And then the slow and steady is going to keep out it's going to keep mostly the altcoins that people consider blue chips, establish lots and lots of partnerships. Okay. So if you were to, for example, go ahead with the slow and steady, you guys can see here that it breaks it down into, you'll get a little bit of meta and gaming here. You get oracles in here, ecosystems, Ethereum alternatives, payment plays, and then the rest is made of blue chips. So you guys can see that it actually would break down what coins, we would recommend, what categories it belong to, what percentage of the bundle, how much you're dropping up front, what your monthly contribution would be. And then you can also see our recommended exchange to go buy those. Now, right now, this is a Coinbase only. Just to make it simple, it's kind of like a beta for our users, but we will be integrating KuCoin and our other favorite exchanges and coins that are offered there. But again, if you're starting with a smaller amount, like $1,000, don't feel like you need to buy 20 coins to be, maximizing your dollars. 4 to 6 is a great spot to start. And I'm really proud of you for thinking that you want to start with something like $1,000.
I love it, Maddie. I love you breaking that down right now. And then the next question is, so like someone that's just getting into crypto right now is going to be like, but Maddie, okay, this is kind of like, off track here, but Maddie, why shouldn't I be buying Bitcoin? Because you just mentioned XRP, API3, all these other altcoins where you're like, Maddie, isn't like Bitcoin and isn't like Ethereum like the real deal? Shouldn't I be buying those? What is your response to that?
So I consider like Bitcoin and Ethereum like the slow and steady growers like you would have in the stock market. So you get exposure to the Dow Jones, you get exposure to ETFs that mimic things that are like the Dow Jones. You're going to get good growth. If you knock it out of the park with the stock market, you're doing 20% on the year, which is fine. But when we're talking about crypto, we're talking about 2, 3, 4, 10x's, right? Or a lot more when we're talking about altcoins. So we're talking about a completely different playing field here. If you're concerned about the short-term volatility, you're concerned about what happens in the altcoin market when we have drawdowns, and that's significantly more than Bitcoin or Ethereum. Maybe altcoins aren't for you, right? And that maybe you need to be oriented a little bit more in Bitcoin or Ethereum. But especially when people are starting with maybe a smaller amount of money, for like $1,000, like we're talking about in this example, your goal should be, especially if you're a younger person, to be maximizing those dollars as much as possible because you have a bigger risk appetite, right? You have more time to correct your mistakes in the future if something goes awry, right? Now, let's say you're in your 60s, you're in your 70s, you're going to make a different decision, right? And this is how a financial advisor would go about it too, not necessarily be as granular about this with specific assets, but they would look at your portfolio. And if you're a young person, you're going to be more heavily weighted in the stock market and you're going to be lightly weighted in the bond market. And as you get older and as your risk appetite decreases, you slowly become more oriented in the bond market and less exposed to the stock market, right? And you can take that approach as you go. But again, if you're a younger person, let's say you're under 40 years old, I think it's a really good idea to have as heavy exposure to high quality altcoins as possible versus saying I'm going to be 70, 80% Bitcoin and Ethereum because they're guaranteed gains. But that's really not the case, right? And I want you guys to erase that from your brains. There's no such thing as guaranteed gains. Crypto moves with the rest of the risk on markets like stocks do, right? And you're not going to see a situation where Bitcoin is up 4x and altcoins are taking an absolute shit, right? You might see a disproportional move while Bitcoin dominance rises for a short period of time, but you're going to see the market move together. So yeah, of course, if you pick some random, micro cap that your friend told you about or some meme coin, yeah, there's a really good chance that those don't do well. But when you look at high quality altcoins that are just as competitive as Bitcoin, just as competitive as Ethereum, and offer something even more proprietary, yeah, I think you should be weighting those just as heavily from a fundamental standpoint as Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Stay away from those community coins, team.
The rebranding is just a joke.
Barbara_Pooks, Liz says, I'm getting into crypto and doing tons of research. Your videos are great. Keep them coming. I'm trying to decide on exchanges and was going to start with Coinbase, Binance, and Uphold, but I'm seeing SEC challenges with Coinbase and Binance, and then your video on Uphold. Which exchanges do you suggest? I realize this may not be an easy answer, LOL, but thank you in advance.
Yeah, so, you can use whatever combination of exchanges you feel most comfortable with. And if that involves Uphold for you, that's perfectly fine. Like I've stated previously, from a solvency standpoint, they are 1-to-1 on their assets. I don't have any concerns about Uphold collapsing, okay? And they're also UK based. They're not based here in the US, so the SEC can't go after Uphold. It's their communication with us as the customer, and it's also their 3.5% deposit fee from a bank account, which is really, really high in my opinion. That's 3.5%, even if you're just dropping US dollars onto their exchange, not making a purchase. They are going to take that 3.5%. And that is a very high percentage to me, right? You're only getting, 96% of your funds onto exchange. You haven't even done anything yet. So that for me is a deal breaker. When we look at Coinbase and Binance, they're still operating as normal right now. I'm still using Coinbase as an onboard, so I onboard fiat there. Once that's seasoned, I buy stable coins or XLM, send it over to KuCoin, and then I do all my purchasing there. I take it to cold storage. Try to not be dependent on exchanges as your median or your custodian to keep your assets. Just use them like marketplaces, take your assets off. If you like crypto.com, go for it. If you like Binance, go for it. If you like Uphold, go for it. At the end of the day, you're going to use the platform that's best for you. It's just like, when you're working out and everyone wants to say, what's the best split? What's the best way to work out? The best way to work out is the one you're going to commit to and stay consistent with. So if that means you have to use Uphold because you don't have the time and you don't want to go through the extra steps of using Coinbase and then sending it over to KuCoin, I'd rather you be involved in things like Casper and XRP than not at all. But again, I'm going to continue to do business with full service exchanges like Coinbase and KuCoin, and also know that I have those deep liquidity books there.
Yeah, one of the things that I kind of realized after all this time, Maddie, is like when people ask, what exchange can I buy X cryptocurrency on? So for example, people ask about XRP. Where can I buy XRP that is for a US based exchange? And I realized the reason of that was so they could just buy it and leave it on exchange.
Right.
And that is foolish. If any of you have been around crypto charge, have heard Maddie go on crazy rants about cold storage, it's kind of shocking, and it's kind of going backwards with it. Maddie, what's the example you give with buying your cryptocurrency and just leaving it on exchange? What's a equivalent of that?
Right. I feel like it's if you go to a marketplace or let's say go to the Diamond District and you want to go buy some precious metals and you go buy a bar of gold and you pay the man for the bar of gold and then you just leave it there with the jeweler. Now, is there a good chance that jeweler is a good guy and is going to be there in a month or 2 months or 6 months when you come back? Yeah, there's also a chance that he goes out of business and he's desperate and he sells your bar of gold or he steals your bar of gold, right? It just doesn't make sense to me to use merchants and exchanges and marketplaces to store your goods, especially when they really don't have a lot of legal responsibilities. When we looked even closely at the Coinbase documents, especially when everything was going on with FTX and that collapse was happening, of course, everybody starts to look to other exchanges, mass outflows of Bitcoin. You guys can see all that on-chain data too. That's not just FUD. Mass outflows of coins off exchange because people realized, hey, my funds aren't as safe as I thought they were. I thought we had already learned our lesson with Voyager and Celsius. Clearly not, considering people were keeping millions, literally millions on exchange. Some people literally lost millions of dollars on FTX, which is sad. Individuals did. to leave them on those exchanges is really, really foolish in my opinion. They don't always have your best interest in heart, right? And you can look at all of these guys, even CZ and Brian Armstrong, right? We can say, hey, they're great, they're pioneers. I hope that they make it through this lawsuit. At the end of the day, I don't trust them, right? I love my family, I like my family. I'm not going to leave all of my money and all of my possessions at my folks' house, right? I'm going to keep them in my possession. So I would hope you guys treat it the exact same way. These are going to be some of the most precious assets that you will own. And if you think about the future value of your assets, right? You own 1,000 XRP right now, and you're picturing XRP at $21. Think about $21,000 being gone, not 1,000 XRP at today's value.
Just buy a Ledger or Trezor, team. It's that simple. Georgia Randall says, I'm an Australian. Is there any way to gather the crypto community in the U.S. to do a protest towards the SEC? Has anyone thought about this?
So obviously, a protest is a very important mechanism that we have here in the U.S. and a constitutionally protected activity that we have to embrace and protect. But to protest the SEC directly is kind of a moot point, in my opinion. I think that our energies would be better directed by reaching out to our local representatives and lawmakers to rein in Gensler and let them know what they're doing to digital currencies, how they're destroying digital currencies, and what we need to implement in order to keep this offshore, what we're doing to drive this offshore to keep it onshore, right? So that is probably going to be more effective than us gathering outside the SEC headquarters and shouting, bring down Gensler, right? We might feel better about it at the end of the day to get it off our chest, but it's going to be more effective having a paper trail, reaching out to our Congress people saying, this is what we need. This is what's happening. Here's how it's hurting me and my investments, right? That's going to be a lot more impactful. So I love where you're going with this, but that's how I'd go about it. It sounds like you're in Australia, so there's not really much you can do directly, but I absolutely appreciate your sentiment.
I think one of the most annoying things, and I think you were showing a lot of this on the early shows a couple years ago, Maddie, was like a lot of these government officials couldn't even define what a blockchain was, couldn't define what Bitcoin was. And I think that's still like happening. I think you've still brought in videos up that people can't even define these items or don't even know the depth of some of these networks, right? So it's kind of like, it feels like education would probably be a better route, don't you think?
Absolutely. Education is really important. And we do have some of that ongoing now where you have people from the blockchain space, people from DLT, people from exchanges coming and trying to educate. And it's a very complex topic. I don't expect anybody to fully grasp ledgers and blockchain and DLT in one sitting, right? It's a lot to digest. And that's why at CryptoCharge, we have members who have been with us for a year and they still have questions, even after they understand the basics, because it's a constantly evolving technology and it's always going to be evolving, just like AI, right? If you look at AI 10 years ago and AI today, it's amazing how far we've come and how these machines are teaching themselves now. And now that we can go on browsers and we can, grab and have them generate pictures and images and Adobe Photoshop now has the incredible dynamic AI tools that are making things so efficient, right? So, and I look at DLT and blockchain the same way. We're always going to have barriers. We're always going to have new technology that comes out. And with that, you're going to have kind of these crossroads of innovation and regulation and legislation that come. And a lot of times you're going to come into heads with that. So this is not going to be the last time that we have hurdles within crypto. And a lot of people forget that when the bull market comes, they're not even aware that there's still hurdles that are being, jumped over this entire time during the bull market because they're being hammered with nothing but bullish news the entire time. Buy, Bitcoin to $200,000, Bitcoin to $300,000. But they ignore the ongoing process. And that's a lot of what we talk about at CryptoCharge is that ongoing process, what's really going on behind the scenes and what we need to be aware of in relation to challenges.
Love it. Jaron Bennett says, what happens to Zcash if it's delisted everywhere?
That's the best thing about crypto is that, XRP is a prime example of this. They made it so difficult for us here in the US to acquire XRP, yet so many Americans are still buying it every single day, right? Once you're in the crypto ecosystem and you have a digital asset, you go to a DEX, right? You can swap it for whatever you want. Now, is there going to be spreads? Is it going to be maybe not the price you want? Yeah, of course. But I don't see a situation where that happens, right? And you have to remember that each individual country is going to decide what happens to individual assets. So there's a very high likeliness that there's always going to be some sort of route to buy or sell Zcash. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I think some of the FUD that we're seeing of certain exchanges delisting it are because of the way that certain governments are approaching privacy coins because they're afraid of it, right? So if a government's really afraid of us owning something like Monero or Zcash or Pirate Chain, it's probably pretty fucking valuable, right? So I'm going to continue to hold Zcash, buy Zcash, and put it in my cold storage wallet because nobody can take it from me if it's in my cold storage wallet.
Gosh, I don't know what it is about Zcash, but I'm getting enthralled by like everyone on Twitter. Everyone's like, "Oh, so pro Zcash." I'm like, "Oh, I kind of feel part of the Zcash community now."
Right.
All right, last question here. The basic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you think of API 3 at this low level?
Yeah, so I've actually adjusted my API 3 plan of attack, and it's more offensive than it was previously. So up to this point, I had my DCA off completely when API 3 was above $1.40. This is something I continue to make my members aware of is, hey, here's the level where I'm comfortable accumulating API 3. Above this, I think it's a little expensive. Below this area, I think is a pretty good deal. I also identified the dollar barrier that we had been building support on, and I said, hey, it's nice that we're building support here. I also saw Casper build a similar floor of support and lose that floor of support and set new lows. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but it is something that we have to be aware of. So when you DCA, and that always I think is the best way, especially when you have emerging assets like this that haven't gone through a full cycle yet, right? Because you don't have that like previous floor established. We're still in price discovery finding the floor, and that's for a lot of people is psychologically disturbing and emotionally disruptive and a difficult thing to continue to add to when you see your overall investment be worth less than what it initially was. Overall, my Casper cost base is phenomenal. API 3 continues to get better. So now that we're below $1, I've actually increased my DCA by 25%. So I'm contributing 25% more than I was contributing when API 3 was below 140. So I'm still looking at API 3 being worth over $40 by end of cycle. And I also pulled up market cap of showing the comparison of API 3 to Chainlink at its previous all-time high by market cap, which is a perfect apples to apples comparison because they're both oracles. They both pull in verified data feeds, do nearly identical things, puts it at like $230 to $240. So API 3 below $1 to me is a gift. It's also a stakeable asset natively within that staking pool, the API 3 DAO. You can also contribute directly using your ledger. So both from a short-term and long-term investment standpoint, absolutely am picking up API 3 and will continue to be on this 125% total DCA allocation on API 3 until we break back above $1, to which I will resume back to my 100%, back above $1.40, DCA completely off.
Love the approach, Maddie. I love the in-depth, attacking it head on, not being, passive with it, but you have a game plan, and I love that. And you should too, team, and that's how you should be approaching your digital assets. You're accumulating this bear market. Maddie, what's this future? I mean, Bitcoin halving feels right around the corner now. I mean, we're getting deeper and deeper into this year. And that's typically when we see the crypto market, Bitcoin go up and the crypto market, the rest of it follows. How crucial is this moment right now for people that are looking to buy crypto?
I mean, I think we're like in the sixth inning of this bear market right now. When we have the Bitcoin halving March, April-ish of next year, like when you really put that in perspective, summer's going to fly by. Most people are going to sleep on crypto through the winter time. That's for sure. And then when springtime comes around, everyone's going to start talking about crypto again because we're going to get that halving. You generally get Bitcoin moving again. Altcoins have recovered significantly off their lows. Because remember, if Bitcoin's up 2x or so, what are a lot of altcoins up? 3x, 4x, depending on how badly they got beat up, depending on what kind of exchange listings they're getting, depending on what kind of volume's being done, right? And a lot of times that's when people start to get excited and get involved in crypto again. Now remember, you get a nice retracement up, you start to see crypto start doing better. You also see 50, 60% knockbacks. And that's generally right after people get in that have been ignoring crypto for the last 12 to 18 months, right? So I would encourage you guys not to be that group of participants. Don't be the people that start to get excited and interested and invested while we're on the way up. Be excited and interested and really grateful that you have the opportunity to buy during probably one of the last crises that we're going to see in this bear market of the SEC enforcement action against Coinbase and Binance right now. Look at what happened, and I don't mean to draw this episode out, but look at the timing of what happened. Binance sued, Coinbase sued the very next day. Crypto obviously reacts over the weekend in a very proportional way. I really think the sell-off was like a perfectly proportional response to what we saw. Fast forward to this week, you have Deutsche Bank, one of the largest banks, going to be offering crypto services to Germany. You have BlackRock filing for a spot Bitcoin ETF. They're going to get it approved. They are an enormous multi-trillion-dollar conglomerate. And then you have multiple entities, including Fidelity, launching an exchange for people to buy and sell Bitcoin. That is not unintentional. That is very, very intentional, right? And crypto's not even responding to all of this bullish news right now. So just remember that most bear markets are marked by incredibly negative sentiment. And I do believe that's where we're at right now, 6th or 7th inning of this bear market. So you guys do what you will with that information.
Gosh, I don't know, Maddie. I don't think this crypto thing's going to stick around.
Probably not. Probably everything to zero.
Well, team, if that doesn't motivate you to start, getting into crypto, I mean, this whole show, a majority of it, we were breaking down portfolios, getting into the crypto ecosystem. Take advantage of that. We got tools on our website. Just start your free trial, Crypto Charge. Click the link in the pinned comment below to join us. I'm really excited. Tonto Group, we're going to be reaching out to you. But if you can, reach out to us first. But we're going to reach out to you. We're going to get a hold of you so we can get you that membership. But until next time, team, that's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, see ya.